Barcelona will have a new goalkeeper from next weekend. It's gonna be Joan García. The Here We Go is coming soon because the agreement with the player is done already.
For FC Barcelona, the writing had been on the wall. Fans watched in disbelief as Marc-Andre Ter Stegen, once the club's immovable wall, began to crumble under pressure. Costly errors in La Liga, painful missteps in the Champions League. The question was no longer if Barcelona needed a change, but who could possibly take the gloves. The answer: he was hiding in plain sight. Just across the city, quietly rising, silently proving, Joan García, the unsung hero of Espanyol, was busy saving points and breaking records in near anonymity. But how did this local prodigy go from neighborhood pitches to becoming La Liga's most feared shot-stopper? Born on May 4, 2001 in Solent, Barcelona, Joan García's journey began not with ambition, but a brother's suggestion. One moment in goal turned into a destiny. Stints at Manresa and Dam sharpened his instincts before Espanyol snapped him up in 2016. By 2019, he debuted for the reserve side, already recognized as a top talent in Spain's youth national teams, at U17, U18, and U19 levels. His breakthrough came in December 2021, a Copa del Rey debut followed by his La Liga debut just weeks later. But it wasn't all rise and glory. The 2022-23 season saw him serve as a backup while Espanyol spiraled into relegation. For most, that's the end. But for Joan García, that was the start of the ascent. In the 2023-24 season, he made 21 league appearances, lifted Espanyol out of the second division through the playoffs, and was voted player of the season. And then came his breakout year. Despite Espanyol finishing 13th in La Liga, García led all goalkeepers in saves, interceptions, and even stopped penalties. His 145 saves and 73% save percentage weren't just good, they were elite. And Barcelona noticed a who reads the game like a midfielder, rushes off his line like Neuer, and leads with quiet authority. Joan García isn't just a transfer. He's a changing of the guard.
Sherlock, Joan García comes out, the cross, not cut out, brilliant save!
It was supposed to be another routine home win for Atletico Madrid at the Wanda Metropolitano, but Espanyol had other plans, and at the heart of it all stood Joan García, the Catalan wall who refused to fall. The match ended in a 0-0 draw, but for those watching, the real scoreline was Joan García vs Atletico, and García won. With 7 crucial saves, he kept one of La Liga's most aggressive attacks at bay. But he didn't just shine with his gloves. His footwork and composure under pressure were just as impressive. 9 long balls, 9 recoveries, 19 accurate passes, and 50 touches throughout the game. These aren't just keeper stats. These are the numbers of a modern ball-playing goalkeeper who commands the game like a quarterback. Doing this in the cauldron of the Metropolitano was one thing, but Joan García would soon take on an even bigger beast, because if you can shut down Atletico, what happens when Real Madrid comes calling? If his performance against Atletico was a statement, what happened against Real Madrid was a mic drop. Espanyol pulled off the shock of the season, a stunning 1-0 win over the league leaders at the time, and at the center of it all once again, Joan García, who walked off the pitch with the Man of the Match award. Back-to-back world-class performances against both giants of Madrid, Atletico and Real, cemented what many had whispered all season. Joan García isn't just rising, he's already here. The numbers backed it up. The eye test confirmed it, and when he pulled off that gravity-defying save in February, the one that won him La Liga's Save of the Month, even neutral fans stood up and took notice. This wasn't just talent, it was timing, precision, composure, and character. The kind of keeper you don't just play behind a defense, the kind you build one around. Joan García wasn't done yet. After winning Save of the Month not once but twice in the same season, and delivering a consistent wall of resistance for a mid-table Espanyol, the end-of-season recognition came flooding in. He was voted into the La Liga team of the season, standing shoulder to shoulder with some of the biggest names in world football. But let's be real, doing it with Espanyol, a team clawing their way up from relegation, made the achievement even more legendary, and the world noticed. Long before Arsenal landed David Raya, Joan García was on their radar. And not just Arsenal, Newcastle, Bournemouth, Aston Villa, they all circled like hawks. But García wasn't interested in riding the bench or playing second fiddle. This was a keeper who had earned his stripes, not just with saves, but with silverware. As a key figure in Spain's Olympic gold-winning squad in 2024, García had tasted glory at the highest level of youth football, and that taste made one thing clear: he was ready to lead. So when Barcelona came calling, it wasn't just a transfer, it was a statement. With Ter Stegen ruled out for the season after a devastating knee injury, Barca needed more than a stand-in. They needed a savior between the posts. Joan García chose legacy over comfort, pressure over patience, and now, the keys to Camp Nou are in his gloves. This isn't just the next chapter in his story. It's the one that could define Barcelona's future. This was more than just a setback. It was a crisis moment for Barcelona. With Marc-Andre Ter Stegen sidelined by a severe knee injury, the heart of their defense was ripped out just weeks into the season. Iñaki Peña was a decent deputy. Solid, capable, loyal, but in the brutal world of elite football, decent wasn't going to cut it. Barcelona needed more. They needed a shot stopper, a leader, and most of all, a long-term solution. And so, in October of last year, the club made a move that shocked the football world, a bold left-field decision that few saw coming. They reached across the city, not across the continent. They didn't go for a flashy foreign signing or a high-priced veteran. Instead, they turned to a player who'd been quietly outperforming almost every goalkeeper in La Liga. That player was Joan García, and what happened next would flip the script on everything people thought they knew about Barcelona's future.
Overshadowed, though, by the injury to Ter Stegen. We speculated yesterday and he will be out for a long period of time.
36-year-old Wojciech Szczęsny, who had just hung up his gloves after a storied career at Juventus, was suddenly pulled back into the spotlight. In a surprise twist, Barcelona convinced the veteran to come out of retirement, hoping his experience would serve as a stabilizing presence in the locker room. The idea was simple. Szczęsny would be the wise backup, the mentor behind the scenes, while Iñaki Peña held down the fort. But as the season wore on, that plan began to fall apart. Peña struggled with consistency, the defense looked shaky, and Barcelona's title hopes started slipping. The reality was unavoidable. They needed a new number one, not next season, but now. And that's when the whispers around Joan García turned into a full-blown roar.
The team looks amazing, so it's exciting, it's a challenge for me. And it's a challenge that I face with a lot.
Despite offering public praise for Iñaki Peña, Hansi Flick quietly admitted behind closed doors that he was always meant to be Barcelona's stopgap, not the long-term answer. Peña had moments of brilliance, yes, but the pressure of replacing Ter Stegen was massive, and early in the season the cracks began to show. A few costly mistakes, some nerves under pressure, and the calls for change began to grow louder. But Flick wasn't ready to give up on him immediately. Why? One word: personality. Peña had a cool head, a quiet confidence that many coaches value. He took criticism on the chin, trained like a pro, and never once complained. For Flick, that mental toughness mattered. He believed Peña could grow into the role. But in football, belief only goes so far, and as the season intensified, the difference between potential and performance became painfully clear.
Cuando digo algo bueno sobre Tec, esto significa que Iñaki quizá
different. He's more calm, and he sometimes he smoke a little bit, but it's like that. He's brilliant. I never had a player like him, because he's in the right age. He's in the right age, and
in this case, the calmness and assurance that Szczęsny brought as a short-term solution were crucial, but even the polished veteran, fresh out of retirement, couldn't mask the deeper truth. Barcelona was scrambling. They had 3 goals, and none of them looked like the long-term answer. Ter Stegen, though recently returned from injury, was no longer untouchable. While fans still respected his legacy from the 2015 treble to his captaincy in golden years. Between 2019-2022, even the most loyal cools have begun to admit he's no longer the wall he once was. The Monaco performance before his injury summed it up: not disastrous, but shaky, and nowhere near the level needed to compete for Champions League glory. Szczęsny, he's on a 1-year extension, and even he knows the truth. He's the backup plan, not the future. And Peña, though mature and coachable, just doesn't inspire that top-tier confidence. That leaves Hansi Flick with a brutal but clear reality for his high-risk, high-reward system with its high defensive line and vertical intensity. Barcelona doesn't just need a goalkeeper. They need the right one. Someone young, brave, technically skilled, and mentally sharp. And all signs now point to Joan García.